Hey everyone, it's yours cuddly Kitwana. Today finally with another episode of Kitwana's Toys. I'm sure you've all been waiting for further episodes. And this here is a special episode because it is an addendum to an earlier episode. If you have been with me already with this channel back in May 2020, then you have seen episode number 56. Where we talked about a very special set of Lion King action figures. 2003, Fight to the Finish, Adult Simba and Scar action figures made by Hasbro. For those of you who have not seen this episode, a quick look at the packaging again. It says, as seen in The Lion King 1.5, the third Lion King movie actually released in February 2004 as direct-to-video, but the figures and merchandise was actually already out there for the holiday season in 2003. And I really like this set, not only because it's super rare, but it also has the characters in an anthropomorphic form. As you can see in this nice display box that features some custom artwork that was created especially for this toy. And that's so cool. It's one of my favorite Lion King artwork that I have ever seen. Simba and Scar in the final fight. And you can see them on back as well. After returning from the exile, Simba finds out that Scar has assumed the throne, and then they match up for that one final fight to determine who is going to rule the kingdom, the Pridelands, and who is going to be the one true Lion King. And that's the play patterns of these action figures, actually, that it lets you recreate one of the most intense and iconic scenes in the first Lion King movie, even though the box claims a scene in The Lion King 1.5, but this is clearly about the original animated classic. And I told you this is going to be an addendum of the episode where I featured this boxed set, because just a few days ago I was able to get the loose figures, and both of them. And since they are so cool, since we have Lion King figures in their anthropomorphic form, I thought I really need to show them to you out of box and actually go into the details and show you what they can do. First, let's take a look on Adult Simba. Look at his face. It is clearly recognizable as Adult Simba, but consider this was 2003 with 3D technology only being at the very beginning, but still they managed to recreate his face very movie realistic. You can see multicolored eyes. You can see the teeth in his mouth, at least the on the lower jaw. You can see the nostrils, both ears sticking out of the nicely structured mane, and look at his paws and claws. You can see paw pads, and all the claws are out and painted black, so you can see them actually. And further down, this is the same. The same is true on Simba's rear legs. He can actually stand on his rear legs. On the back you can see the big mane, which really has nice structures in it. And you can see that the tail is actually a separate mold, as are the two arms, but they are not movable. They're actually just glued onto the figure, so I hope these do not fall off eventually. as these figures are way too cool to leave them in the box and not play with them. Let's take a look on Scar before we actually play with them. Scar actually does have his scar across his left eye, and we can see great details on his face as well. The open mouth, he looks really aggressive. Very true to Scar. And take a look at his claws. He has black paw pads underneath his front legs. You can see the claws are out on his rear legs as well. Back shows you the big black mane with the ears sticking out. And the very same on this figure, the tail is glued on, as are the two front legs under the main body. So the only thing articulated is their bodies. So the play pattern of these figures is actually that you can act out one of the most intense and memorable scenes seen in the first Lion King movie. The final fight atop Pride Rock, the final battle for the kingdom of the Pridelands. Who's going to be the one true Lion King? Well, you can decide for yourself with these two action figures. And for additional playtime fun, I have set up my Pride Rock playset from Mattel, which was released in 1994. You can see it behind me here. It's this set here, which also came in a version without the figures included. So this gives you additional realism to act that scene out. If you want to learn more about the Pride Rock playset, check out episode number 81. I am going to put a link on the screen right now. But now let's see if we can put these two figures on top of Pride Rock and see if they actually stand. And yes, they actually do. You just have to try it with your bare hands. My paws and claws are a little bit too bulky here to show you this properly, but as always, I've got some nice B-roll footage to help you see what it's supposed to be like. And look at how great they look on the Pride Rock playset. I mean, wow, these toys are really made for each other, even though they're actually made by different toy companies. Mattel did the Pride Rock playset, and the figures shown here are from Hasbro. But it's cool that they made them to match with each other. They're actually in scale. And that brings us to the action feature. So I told you the only point of articulation these figures have is on their bodies. And the way these work is that you twist their bodies to 90 degrees to their right. You twist them all the way and then let go. And then they return to their original position thanks to a spring-loaded mechanism. There's no electronics, no batteries, nothing, just some springs, some tight springs in their body that allow for this action feature. And I have to say, it feels very high quality. I don't think these are going to break that soon. Actually, it takes quite some force to do that, and the springs are loaded really tight. The same is true on Scar. He also twists to the right. I would have preferred if one of these figures would twist to the left and the other to the right, which would have made it a bit easier to operate them. What's a bit of a disadvantage is that they tend to trip over easily if you have them set up on a flat surface, but eventually they will stand. Work on their tails a little bit if they do not immediately stand, because the tails are of a bit of a softer plastic, but eventually they will stand. In terms of size, as you've already seen, they scale up nicely with the Pridelands playset. They measure 4.75 inches in height, that's around 12 centimeters, and that matches them with the other earlier action figures made by Mattel. Now let me show you this real quick. I've got a Simba back here, the fighting action Adult Simba, which I showed you in an earlier episode as well. And if I put him right next to these figures, you can see how he scales up in size really, really nicely. So since this is one of the rarest Lion King action figure sets, they are quite valuable. For these loose figures I paid $99 for Scar and $129 for Adult Simba, and for a boxed set you will have to factor in about $200 to $250 already. These are the second most rarest Lion King action figures after the Roaring King set by Mattel, which released in 1994 at the Disney parks only. And with that, I want to go over to the bonus content of this episode, because I have to show you something that the very, very generous eBay seller that mailed these figures to me has included in the box. Again, if you are following my channel since quite a while, you probably know already about this set, which is also from 2003 as well, from Hasbro, the Pouncing Action Mufasa Simba and Zazu action figure set. One of the 3 sets that Hasbro released for the holiday season in 2003. And look what I found inside the package. The seller threw in a Pouncing Action Mufasa, a loose figure of him from this set. And this caught me in total surprise. A really, really pleasant surprise. So I want to show you this figure real quick as well. Put this over here. Look at this face. Just like the fight to the finish that the Mufasa looks really, really detailed. And that was about the best they were able to do back then, 20 years ago. Detailed face, multicolored eyes, nostrils, teeth, everything, structured mane, clearly recognizable as Mufasa. There's clearly a different face than Simba. Many toy companies cannot even get the difference right between these 2 adult lion characters. But the coolest thing is actually the action features on this Mufasa. It's called Pouncing Action for a reason. You all remember that father-son bonding moment in the animated classic where Mufasa teaches Simba how to pounce, and you can reenact that with this figure. And the way this works is that you put it on all fours like this and then push down. and to the back on his body so that the legs go into position. You push down and you let go. Now the cool thing is, I really like that there's a little bit of a delay between when you push down and he actually bounces forward. That's so super cool. And you can actually enhance playtime by bringing in Scar. Scar, the evil brother of Mufasa, and you can actually have them fight against each other as well. You can have Mufasa pounce at Scar. Something like this. But Scar is strong and Scar is not easy to take down. So Scar definitely wins that matchup. I really have to thank to the kind eBay seller who included an extra figure to my complete surprise, and I'm really happy that I own 3 of the rarest Lion King action figures. That's so cool, and I know it will provide me with hours and hours of playtime fun. Just be a little bit careful if you're actually playing with them. I've seen some figures before on eBay in a really bad condition with the paint already chipped off, especially on their black claws. So you have to find a little bit a middle ground between playing with them and not damaging them too much, because that would be really sad to destroy such great looking action figures. But at least I'm no longer tempted to open this box, so I'll definitely always have 2 figures in pristine condition and these 2 available for playing. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Kitwana's Toys, and I'll see you soon. Now I go play with my figures. Please excuse me.